Lindsay from the Living Kitchen here. I'm out today on the Haas Tract in Crosse, Wisconsin. This is another one of my favorite trails. I actually mentioned it in my last video, and it's a huge space to explore. I'm super excited to show you a few of my favorite spots. This has been one of the coldest springs I can remember, and I haven't had a ton of chances to get out, so it's finally a beautiful day. But with all this cold weather, I thought I would share with you a few of my favorite mashed potato recipes. These are so easy to make. They're a perfect side dish for your mains, or, if you just want to eat a bowl of mashed potatoes. Sometimes I do that. First up, we have mashed potatoes without milk. This is great if you are vegan or if you just don't have any milk on hand. And they're super easy to make. You'll be really surprised. They don't even taste like they don't have milk in them. Second, we have my cheesy Crockpot mashed potatoes, which are great for holidays. You can just set it and forget it, and it's not taking up space on your stove. Also, I love cheese. Finally, we have mashed potatoes with Boursin, which is a wonderful, soft, garlicky cheese. These taste just like restaurant mashed potatoes, and you're going to be obsessed. Before we get started, I would love to have you hit subscribe right below here and turn on that notification bell so you never miss another video. And that just helps let me know that I should keep making these videos and that you enjoy these adventures with me. So while you're taking care of that, I'm going to get hiking and you're going to have a look at these mashed potatoes without milk. These mashed potatoes without milk are the absolute easiest thing to make. They start with Yukon Gold potatoes. Mine were pretty small, so I've cut them in half, but you could also cut them in half again or cut them a few more times if they're larger. You basically just want them to all be about the same size so they cook evenly. Put them in a big pot and cover them with water. You want them to be covered by an inch or two to make sure they don't dry out while they're boiling. And then you're just going to bring it to a boil. We're going to let these cook for 15 to 20 minutes or until they're tender when pierced with a fork. When you drain your potatoes, save some of the cooking water. We're going to use it later instead of milk. And then return your potatoes to the pot and mash them up. Next, we're going to add a little butter. I'm also adding garlic powder. You could leave this out if you don't want them garlic flavored. We're also adding salt and pepper to taste. You can always add more later. And we're adding some of the cooking water a little bit at a time until it reaches the consistency that we want. Yukon Gold potatoes are really fluffy, and the water helps to smooth them out and make it a little creamy. If you wanted to make these totally vegan, you could use vegan butter as well. You would never know that those mashed potatoes don't have milk in them. They're so smooth and fluffy and simple to make. Well, I have made it a little ways up the trail. You can kind of see out the trees behind me. Maybe you can hear a train or the school back there, but this seems like a little bit of a lookout, but it gets so much better than this. So don't stop when you start to see the city and the bluff through the trees. Keep on going. Just a little reminder, if you're not interested in these hikes, but you want to see the recipes, just look in the description box down below, and I have timestamps where you can click and jump to each of the recipes. This trail here at the Haas Tract is a little more intermediate than some of the other trails in town. It's tricky, especially at the beginning. If it's a wet time of year, a lot of the moisture comes out of the bluff and kind of runs down into the creek across the trail. But there are rocks that you can use to step across and help you navigate your way. In the main part of the trail, it's also a little tricky. There's a lot of tree roots sticking out, and just be sure to watch your step. If you head down by the water, there is a lot of burning and itching type of weeds, so be aware of that as well. Up here along the ridge, usually in the summertime, there are some bushes where you can pick black raspberries for a little snack on the trail, or if you really want to collect a lot and take them home, I've made little hand pies out of them. They're so sweet and delicious and really a special find here. So I'm going to keep hiking, but in the meantime, let me show you how to make those cheesy Crockpot mashed potatoes. For these cheesy Crockpot mashed potatoes, I'm using a 2-quart slow cooker. This is pretty small. If you wanted to use a larger slow cooker, I would recommend doubling or tripling this recipe just to make sure that it doesn't burn. And that's a great option for holidays or cooking for a larger crowd. We're going to start by spraying the inside of the slow cooker with a little cooking spray, and then add your cubed potatoes. I'm using red potatoes that I have taken some of the skin off of, not all of the skin. And again, you just want to cut them all about the same size. I used 6 large red potatoes. They didn't all quite fit in the slow cooker here, which is fine. Just add as many as will fit. You're going to add 1 cup of water or vegetable stock, and we're also adding some butter. You just want to break it up into smaller cubes and scatter it around. You don't have to be too careful with this, just add it all on top. Next, you'll want to cover your slow cooker. Make sure that you can get it sealed all the way around the edges. You don't want those potatoes poking up and creating an opening where all the steam can release. And we're going to cook this on high for 3 to 4 hours. Generally, you don't want to take the top off until it's done, but you can check to make sure they're fully cooked by taking the top off and piercing them with a fork. They should be nice and tender. I'm actually just going to mash these up with a fork. It's a lot easier than trying to fit a potato masher in this small crock pot, and it gives them a nice kind of chunky texture with the skins we left on. Make sure you get the potatoes on the bottom as well and work in that cooking liquid. We're going to add a little bit more butter and some milk. I'm adding the milk just a little bit at a time. You really don't need much. The cooking liquid with this makes it super easy to get nice creamy potatoes. And we're also adding some shredded Gruyere cheese. Don't forget a little bit of salt and pepper, and get that all mashed up and incorporated. You can taste and adjust the salt and pepper if needed, or if you like more butter or cheese, or I think I did go back and add a little bit more milk to this just to make them a little creamier. The thing about mashed potatoes is you don't want to overwork them or they'll become gummy. So you just want to mash them enough to get the right texture and get all the ingredients in there. And then you can serve these up, or if you want to keep them warm in the slow cooker, if your slow cooker has a warm function, they're great like that. I love how the cheese gets a little bit crispy on the edges. And you could use this method for the mashed potatoes without milk as well if you wanted to use your slow cooker for that. I've topped these with just a little more butter and some chopped chives, salt and pepper. They're so cheesy and delicious. Those are my go-to for holidays. You can basically spend just like 5 minutes, maybe 10, getting it ready and let it go for a few hours, and it's pretty much done. I love letting them sit in the crock pot for a while after I mash them with the cheese because the cheese gets a little crispy on the edges. I've made it over the hardest part of the trail and we're almost to the top. I'm excited to show you the look out there. When you first get here, it seems like there's really just 1, maybe 2 main trails, but I think I find something new every time I come here. There's just all sorts of interesting things to explore, little ditches and tiny little deer trails around trees. Just make sure you check the map at the beginning of the trail to see what is public and what is private land. Next up, we have my mashed potatoes with Boursin. While you check those out, I am gonna keep climbing and I'll see you at the top. My mashed potatoes with Boursin start with Yukon Gold potatoes as well. I am fully peeling these before boiling. Again, I just cut them in half because they were pretty small. You want to top them with water again and let them boil until tender. A lot of times when I make mashed potatoes, I will drain the potatoes and then return them to the pot and return them to the heat and cook them over medium heat, stirring for just a few seconds to help the rest of that water evaporate. To this, we're going to add some butter and milk and give that a good mash. Once that's a little mashed up, we're going to add a full wheel of Boursin cheese. I'm using the garlic and fine herb flavor here, which just makes them taste so restaurant worthy and incredible. Make sure that gets all mashed in there, and you can season with salt and pepper to taste. Definitely taste these as you go and adjust as needed because the cheese can add a lot of flavor. And these are great with a little extra butter and some herbs. If you're the kind of person who always orders garlic mashed potatoes at a restaurant, those are definitely the mashed potatoes for you. They have so much flavor. I love the texture, everything about it. They're just so good. Well, we made it here to the top, and you can see this beautiful view of, I believe it's Cliffwood Bluff in La Crosse, and maybe I'll take you up there next time in my next video. But it's such a lovely view here. You can see across to Minnesota and the bluffs there. I just love this spot. It's different at all times of year. I've actually never been able to find the final point on the map at the beginning, number 7. Ooh, got a bug in my ear. I've looked many times and I've never been able to find it. So if you know how to get to that point, definitely let me know in the comments down below. I am ready to climb back down and head back home. I got my mashed potatoes in the crock pot before I took off, so I'm excited to eat some of those. I will see you back there. In the meantime, I hope you will give this video a thumbs up and hit subscribe if you didn't at the beginning. I love making these for you, and I hope you enjoy them as well. I am going to head back down, but I will see you back in the kitchen with my cheesy crockpot mashed potatoes. We're back in the kitchen with my crockpot mashed potatoes, and I'm so excited to dive into these. They're cheesy and buttery, and they look so good. Once again, if you enjoyed this video, I hope you will please give it a thumbs up and hit subscribe down below. Let me know in the comments which one of these mashed potato recipes you're most excited to try. I know as a vegetarian or vegan, it can be kind of hard to find main dishes to go with mashed potatoes. So I will link a few of my favorites in the description box down below. Otherwise, I am going to dive into these potatoes, and I will see you next time.